Blah, blah, blah.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Actually Good Coffee podcast, the show where we talk about all things coffee related, all while drinking a cup of coffee. Today is a little bit different. We're not going to be talking really about coffee, more so about business and personal life, which is also kind of about business because they're intertwined, and specifically talking about what it's like to be in business with your spouse, especially right after you have a child. For those who don't know, we had a newborn child about 4 weeks ago, and that's been Alyssa's full-time job, especially recently. So I'm going to be asking her some questions about that. And if you recently had a child and you're running your own business, then maybe you might find this helpful. All right. First one, what was the biggest adjustment for you in stepping away from the business after giving birth?
All right, that's tough. I feel like everything was an adjustment. Maybe just like a change of routine, like a completely new change of routine. Because for so long, their routine was like, you end the night before talking about what we're gonna do the next day for work, kind of get to like relax, go to sleep, wake up, and then like we woke up together, ate breakfast, talked about again what we were going to do, and then like either we'd go together to the roastery or I'd meet you, and then we just like work all day as long as we could and then go home and then just like do that. So the only focus was really like eating and figuring out what we were going to do for work. And I guess also constantly thinking about ideas, like having the energy and the time to think of new ideas, like for Instagram or for videos, or even checking through like emails, things like that I just had free time to do. I think that overnight that completely changed, like from one day to the next. Like there was just like absolutely no time to do that. So I think that was an adjustment. Is that a good answer?
Yeah, I think it is.
A change in there was no slow change. It was like that Wednesday I was at Maiden the day before I gave birth doing what I usually do, and then that Thursday morning we went to the appointment and I was having a baby, and I haven't even like looked at anything since. So
yeah, it's just your job now, basically. Like,
yeah,
you really don't have the time to do anything that's involved with Maiden anymore, just because of the baby. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, like any free time I do have, it's like I go to the bathroom or I brush my teeth. Like that's the only, no, literally, like I only have like a few minutes because he'll like wake up or need something else. Like I don't even have time to do extra things that someone else might not like think twice about. Like it's literally just like getting myself together for like the next time I have to pick him up. So
what do you miss most about being involved in the business?
I think just like working with you every day. And also, like, just the freedom of kind of not getting to do what I want, but the freedom of being like, do we want to go to a coffee shop and do work? Do I want to do work at home? Do I want to, like, push work off till later so I can, like, see a friend in the morning? Like, I had, like, it was so flexible, I feel like. Yeah, I just missed the freedom of, like, having a choice of, like, what I want to do with work and what I want to do that day and when. This is just, like, a depressing episode.
It's okay. How have our expectations of balancing work and parenting differed from reality? I think for me, if I can answer this one, if I can at least start it off.
Just thinking about.
I went into this thinking that I thought that this first few weeks, I knew they were going to be hard, but I thought pretty quickly we were going to be able to get back into a routine and back to focus on what's going on with work. But obviously that's not the case, and that's fine because it's our child. So it's not like we're ever going to regret how much work it's taking to focus on him. But I think it's just being flexible more than anything. Before, I liked to plan things out and be really structured in time and get things done effectively.
Yeah, I feel like we got a lot done.
And then now it's like, I mean, for you, at least, I'm sure some of your milestones are like, I took a shower today, or like...
I did.
Yeah.
Can you tell?
I can. And then for me, I guess with work, trying to be as efficient as possible, because now it's sort of like doing two jobs. It's just like figuring out which jobs or tasks have the highest lever moves in this business, or like with Maiden, like which jobs require the most attention and which are going to have the most the largest impact in what we're doing, and how do I efficiently do that?
One expectation. Wait, the question was what expectations weren't realistic?
Yeah, of balancing work and parenting different from reality.
Mine was breastfeeding, and like I didn't really know much about it and how much work it was and how many times you have to do it a day and how at like the will of the baby you have to be. And I didn't know the whole bottle thing can't really be mixed in with that. So I just assumed like I'd breastfeed and bottle feed, and that I'd pump and we'd leave the baby with someone and leave bottles and I get to go and leave. So that was one expectation that was not realistic, not realizing that you can't just do both. It's kind of one or the other, especially in the beginning. My job is to literally just supply milk. Like that is my whole job. I thought I would have downtime too to do work from home.
Yeah.
I thought when he slept, I could just be on the computer. And now I'm lucky if I have 5 minutes. And when I do it, I try and do the retail. I think I didn't realize our baby would be fussy, and not to like talk shit about our baby, but I thought he was going to be chill.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, I don't know, because the pregnancy was kind of chill, and I thought even with help at home, I thought everything was going to be kind of like, yeah, I didn't think it would be this hard. Like our baby is pretty, I don't know, compared to the norm, pretty fussy and constantly need, like, it's just very fussy and always needs to be held, and there's like not a lot of time for anything else. So
yeah, I guess the main point is like we didn't expect it to be this hard, and we kind of went into this thinking like, all right, we're gonna make this work one way or another. And the way that we make it work now is sort of like we both have our own individual lives at the moment, and we kind of both aren't really, well, I'm still, I guess, associated with like parenting, but you're here all day doing that while I'm at work, and it's kind of like a mutual understanding, more or less. How has becoming a mom shaped your vision for Maiden Coffee Roasters?
well, now that this is like the thing that's funding our child in our life, I definitely want it to work and I want it to grow. So I guess like when I do come back, I'll probably be more eager and focused. But vision wise, I don't have a new vision for Maiden yet at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like more than anything, it's like, I think if anything, it just makes everything more concrete. Like having a baby makes everything more concrete. Like it's a physical representation of this is why we have to work and this is why we have to do everything. And I think some people, that's pretty scary for some people because they don't really have like a backdoor way out anymore. It's just something that they have to do now. But like for me, I like that because it forces me to work harder and it makes going to work a little bit easier, which I always enjoyed it, but it definitely makes it easier now.
I think I'll just appreciate it more too, like being there, because it's kind of like it would be like my escape from the house.
Yeah.
So I think I'll appreciate it more.
What's one goal you have for the business in this new chapter of our lives? Yeah, I mean, I say this, and I know the baby's crying, so we have to hurry up, but I'm saying this because I feel like anyone who's listening to this probably sounds like this is miserable right now, our lives, but the truth is yeah, it is miserable and it's very difficult, but it's also, I mean, there's a reason why statistically you have a higher chance of being more successful when you are married and have children. It's because things are just a lot more real in a sense, and you don't have the ability, like it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't have an option anymore. And again, some people are like that and they're able to, I don't know if I've said this before, but I've always worked better in situations where I haven't had an option to fail, really. And right now, that's kind of what our options are. We don't really have an option to not make things work or do them wrong or just waste time in general. So I'd say more than anything, goals that we have for the business is just being more efficient.
Yeah, and I think also having maybe like more of an identity. Like I think we can still work on finding our identity since you bought it from other people. I think you've like figured it out more so, but I think there's more room to like.
I think that comes from vulnerability.
People could see that and be like, oh, that's Maiden.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like brand awareness or just brand identity comes from being honest about your situation and just being more transparent and vulnerable with your customers.
And depending on what you pick. Maybe we should just like wrap up the meaning. So like if you're listening to this and you're wondering why did I click on it, because I just like heard these two people kind of complain. I think it's that if you're involved in a business and you're at the point where you're going to have a child, or you're thinking about it, or you know you will in the next year, or your spouse is pregnant right now, just know that like any expectations you have will probably be thrown out the window.
Wait, hold on. I just want to ask this question because this is tied into what you're saying.
Okay.
Last question is, if you could go back and give yourself advice before having our son, what would it be? So like this goes for anyone.
Really, really enjoy sleep more. Maybe talk to you more about expectations and like our schedule and how we're going to split things up and sleep schedule and...
Like taking night shifts, you're saying?
Yeah, like I feel like that's been the biggest struggle because it's like we sleep in the same room together, but you have to go to work the next morning. But like I need help and I can't do it all the time by myself. And then like you do help, but then you also like can't be up for that. Like it's just like something we didn't talk about. So I feel like that's been kind of like a struggle, like the night. It's okay that you go to work all the time, but I guess I didn't think you were. I thought you were going to take some days off. Like that was just my expectation. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, that you're not. So I think just talk about it with your partner, so it's not like while it's happening you're surprised. Just so you both have a plan and are on the same page instead of just like assuming things.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like being more direct with what exactly you have in mind for when the baby gets here. Yeah. And I guess for me, it's like, you know, I want to be at work more than anything because it's like now there's like, again, like a actual reason to be doing it. And even though I'm not able to take off like days at work, it just feels like there's so much more pressure riding on it that like I have to be there and I have to be a part of what's going on every single day, so that I can make sure that everything's getting done well and properly, but also just being gracious with yourself and knowing that you're going to be running off of 4 hours of sleep. So some days are going to be tough and you're not going to be able to get everything done. So I hope that episode isn't just incredibly bleak for anybody, but I think it's important just to understand what it's like, especially if you're planning on having children and running a business.
I think also like make sure you have help, because like I thought like the help will be nice, but we're not really gonna need it, but you will need it. Yeah. Especially if it's just the two of you and one person's working, the person that's staying home is gonna really need help. So just don't be afraid to ask for help. Talk about expectations beforehand, and I know everyone says it and I kind of ignored them, but really like appreciate the moments of like the free time you have to just like do whatever. Like we just watched The Sopranos and ate food and like stayed up till whatever, or had Jack's friends over. Like there was just it was just kind of like, we'll do whatever we want. So like really appreciating that, because it's gone.
Yeah, and it's, I think, again, too, like, the reason that this is so depressing is because we're in, like, hell week of becoming a Navy SEAL, and from what I hear from people, it's, like, month 3 to 6 is where you kind of come out of it, and it starts to be a little bit more enjoyable, but then there are also, you know, things that then are difficult, too, that you aren't experiencing currently, but I think from what I hear, and I'll tell you guys when we get there, but right now is the hardest part.
If we get there.
Yeah, right now is the hardest part of having a child, and once we can get a little bit more free time and schedule out the day a little bit more, and you can just have more time to have a little bit of a life outside of the baby, then we can really start to split up our time effectively.
What about you? I feel like you didn't, like, what are some expectations you had that are different? Did you think it would be this hard?
No, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. I thought that I was just going to be able to figure it out like everything else, but you can't figure out an infant. This is something that you have to be accepting of the fact that you're not going to be good at it, and it's going to be very challenging, and you just have to be flexible. So if you're not a flexible person, I think it's going to be even more challenging, and I'm not really flexible at all. Like, I like things getting done a certain way and when I want them to, and when they don't, it's like infuriating. I don't know. I think this is one of those situations where we're going to definitely appreciate it when we're even 2 years from now, that we had while we were young. But yeah, I don't think this is for everyone. I think that, you know, you have to be sure of who you're with. You have to be able to just like say something is okay when you don't agree with it, or like.
What do you mean?
A lot of times before, like when we would have our conversations, it was like, this is the problem and then this is the solution, and like, how do we get to the solution? And here it's like, here's the problem, here's what I think is the solution, and here's what you think is the solution, but you don't really know because for every single person it's different, including an infant. So how do you find the solution for somebody who can't speak or communicate or even keep their head up at all? And neither of us know, so we're both trying to figure out what the solution is, and that can be very difficult because we both have completely different perspectives on it just by how we were raised, and like being able to create that bridge to be on the same team of like, okay, this is what we should try, or I'm gonna step out of this one and you're gonna take over, or like you take the reins now, and like passing it along to each other as you go. Again, I think it all just comes back to that idea of just being flexible and being able to pivot whenever you need. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that'll be helpful in business at some point.
Yeah.
But this is sort of its own animal in a sense.
I think after this, nothing's going to seem too hard, so that's a good thing.
You know what? That's a great point. That's actually a great point. Everything is a lot easier outside of this. Like, I love going to work in the morning.
I know you do. You like run out. See ya.
I love it. I love it. But even like spending time with each other, like when we can get to the point where we're able to go out to see a movie together or get dinner or frozen yogurt, just be able to breathe for a second, I think that's going to be so nice. It's going to feel like vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's like Stockholm Syndrome. Right? Stockholm Syndrome?
Is that when you stay home all the time?
That's like when you convince somebody that you put them in a terrible situation.
What did I think captive.
No, it's not that. Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome is like...
I think it's the word homes in it.
It's like when you capture somebody and you put them in a terrible situation, and then you start giving them like some sort of little positive things, and it makes it seem like a lot better. It's when the victim bonds with their abuser or captor. Maybe it's not Stockholm Syndrome. It's not Stockholm Syndrome. It is something. I don't know what it's called.
I know what you
mean.
It's
like when you don't...
The grass is greener.
Yeah, right.
On the other side syndrome.
It's like you're able to appreciate the little things a lot more when you physically remove yourself from them for an extended period of time. Some people don't want that. And if you don't want that, that's fine. But I think with a child, it's like a lifelong project that you're never going to regret. So if there's anything to do that sort of thing with, a child is one of them. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it.
We're going to say all right.
And yeah. Thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. And we will talk to you again very soon.